Hola, bienvenido, vlog número 2. Now, at the end of August, we went to Cuba, a completely Spanish-speaking country, and I wasn't really very well prepared for it. I'd been doing a few bits of Memrise and doing a few bits of Duolingo, but essentially that was it. And when we landed, like this, I realised how much Spanish there was. Now that sounds really silly, and obviously you kind of understand, well, Cuba's going to be Spanish speaking, but I truly didn't appreciate how much Spanish there was going to be and how little English there would be. And when I got there, I was literally mind blown as to how much in the deep end I really was. The place we were staying was actually inland, in a small town of Moron, which was very kind of like non-English speaking. Luckily, Lindsay was there and she's having a good time with the locals, speaking to them, talking to them, having a good old chat. And I'm stood there going, I have absolutely no idea what was going on. Now, on that first day, I kind of realised I need to up my game a little bit. And so I started trying to do a bit more Memrise. I started trying to use a phrase book. I started talking to people in the Casa Particulares. And over the next few weeks, my Spanish level did improve. It went from a point of nothing to a point of something, where I could actually communicate at breakfast or communicate at lunch or communicate at dinner. There's a lot of food orientated communication with my Spanish.
Puedo traer Creole, un Creole, por favor. No le gusta el café.
Now, a lot of my Spanish practice was actually done with a lot of real people. So the place we were staying were Spanish speakers. When we went out, there were Spanish speakers. When we went to do anything at all, there were Spanish speakers. So it was just pure absorption to the culture, and I just started picking up little bits and pieces. Luckily, I had Lindsay there to kind of ask, like, what do I say here? What do I say there? What do I say here? And she was able to talk about it. And in the evenings, we would spend a lot of time just kind of like going backwards and forwards about what could be said here, what could be said there. And it really did help. And by the time we started to leave Cuba, I was at the point where I could actually order food. I could kind of ask just general pleasantries, but it was still very much one way. A sentence that I started using a lot was lo siento, aprendo español. Just the idea of actually saying to someone, I'm sorry, I'm learning, and they're kind of like always meet you with a, oh bless him, ruffle his head and push him out the door. Now, after leaving Cuba, we ended up in Mexico, another Spanish-speaking country. What are the odds? And although to my ear the Mexican Spanish seems to be a little bit easier, and I can kind of pick out more words than I could Cuban Spanish, I'm actually finding a lot less opportunities to speak with people in Spanish. This has a lot to do with the fact that we're now staying in an Airbnb where we have our own facilities for cooking and sleeping. We don't have to talk to people and ask what we want when we want it and so on and so forth. We also have things such as Walmarts, so we just go in and buy food and walk out without having to kind of negotiate with a market stall or a little cafeteria stand. Which isn't a problem, it's great. I love staying on my own and like shopping at Walmart, but you know, that general contact with people speaking Spanish has actually gone down. In many ways, because it has become easier, it's become harder to actually engage people in Spanish. I've started actively trying to combat this. I've started trying to say hello to people, or I've been trying to order food and like use a bit more colloquial wording. I've also done a few other things, such as going to the cinema and seeing a film in Spanish. That was a bit of a random experience. However, there is one area in Mexico where I seem to be finding a lot of Spanish which I didn't truly appreciate, and that's to do with my running. Since being in Merida, I've been involved in quite a few races, and when I've been getting to the end, people have been speaking to me. However, they're not using the Memrise level of speak to me, such as, do you want a coffee? Do you want a tea? Do you want cheese? They're talking to me about, what was my split time? How fast did I run? What part of the race did I like? You ran really well. You didn't run really well. You cut me up. Where's the water? But I haven't learned any of these things. This running lingo, this running terminology that I'm so fluent with in England, I haven't come across it in Memrise. We've still got quite a bit of time left here in Merida before we move on to other parts of Latin America, and I'm really going to try and use this time to kind of consolidate and really develop my Spanish ability. So what I've done is I've set myself a few tasks. Number one, I'm going to start trying to learn a few bits of running terminology just to help me out at the end of those races, because that is the one area where people are really wanting to speak to me and I want to speak to them. Number two is I'm going to actually try and get a italki language tutor just to kind of teach me some Spanish terminology while I'm here. And number three, and this is a bit of a random one, I'm actually going to try and make a film in Spanish. That one I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but we'll see what happens. So that was my update. Subscribe. Oh, if you want to see a few of my other language update videos, they're on Mundo Trundle there. There's a few of the ones there, right there. Bye. I still don't have the confidence in my Spanish just to walk up to somebody and say, Hola, ¿qué tal? ¿Dónde está la biblioteca? Wait, that's German.